Welcome to Mr. Disturbing. Tonight, we're plunging into the dark heart of the Appalachians with some truly unsettling true horror stories. That'll keep you up all night. If you're brave enough, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next descent into fear. My name is Travis Miller. I'm 39 years old, and I've spent most of my life working as a geological surveyor. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, but my job takes me to remote areas across the eastern United States. I work for a private firm that contracts with the government to map terrain, assess land stability, and sometimes test groundwater. Most people think it's boring, but I've always liked the quiet, the solitude. I never minded being alone for days at a time, out in the woods with nothing but a pack and my equipment. But there's a stretch of land in the southern edge of West Virginia, deep in the Appalachian Mountains, where I will never return. I won't even look at it on a map anymore. I was sent there in early October of 2019. My firm had been hired to survey a stretch of mountain ridge for a proposed communications tower. The job was simple: 3 days of GPS marking, soil sampling, and elevation mapping. I'd be camping on the job, hiking in with my gear, working alone like usual. When I first arrived, everything seemed normal. I parked my truck where the paved road ended, hiked 5 miles along a barely used logging path, then veered off into forest too thick for vehicles. The woods were quiet. Too quiet. I noticed it right away. No birds, no bugs, not even the wind. Just an unnatural stillness, like the whole forest was holding its breath. I've been in the wild long enough to know when something feels wrong. But the job had to be done, and the sun was already starting to dip behind the ridge. I set up my tent on a slight rise overlooking a narrow valley. The trees here were old, tall and thick, their trunks like columns holding up a sky I could barely see. I boiled water, ate from a ration pack, and tried not to think too hard about the silence. That first night I barely slept. The woods seemed to shift around me, creaking and groaning like the trees were alive. I kept hearing a distant knocking sound, like wood on wood coming from the valley below. It was rhythmic, like someone tapping slowly on a tree trunk every few seconds. Tap, tap, tap. I thought maybe it was a woodpecker, but it didn't move. The tapping stayed in one spot for hours. Around 2 in the morning, it stopped. The sudden silence made it worse. I sat up in my tent, listening to my own breath. And then, just before dawn, I heard something I will never forget. A long, drawn-out breath. Not mine. Not from any animal I know. It was close, just outside the tent. A slow exhale like someone standing still, watching me. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. Just lay there frozen, counting seconds until the sun rose. When daylight finally came, I stepped outside. The ground around my tent was undisturbed. But on a nearby tree, a pine maybe 15 feet away, something had scratched the bark. Not a bear, not claws. It looked like fingers, long, thin grooves in the wood, 4 parallel lines about shoulder height. I marked my first coordinates and got to work, trying to shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. By mid-afternoon, the clouds rolled in fast. Thick, low, heavy with a yellowish hue that made the forest darker than it should have been. I kept checking my compass, but the needle drifted just slightly every few minutes. I checked my backup. Same thing. My GPS kept resetting, like it was struggling to get a signal. Around 4, I found something that wasn't on any topographic map. A pit. Roughly 6 feet wide, 8 feet deep, carved into the earth like a perfect circle. It wasn't natural. No erosion, no tools, no debris, just dark soil, smooth edges, and at the bottom, bones. I didn't know what kind. Not human, I told myself, maybe deer. But they were piled too neatly, arranged almost, like someone had placed them there. My breath caught. I backed away, marked the location, and told myself I'd report it when I got back. That night, the tapping returned. Closer, louder, But it wasn't just one spot anymore. It was several, around me. 3 or 4 distinct tapping sounds surrounding my tent in no pattern. Just tapping. Then silence. Then a different tree. It didn't stop for hours. I didn't move. I barely breathed. I kept my hand on the handle of the hatchet I slept beside. Just before dawn, I heard the breathing again. This time, it was right behind the tent. And then a voice. Low. Hoarse. Just one word. My name. I didn't answer the voice. I didn't move. I didn't even think. I just stared at the roof of the tent, paralyzed. I knew I hadn't imagined it. I've been alone in the wild more times than I can count. I've hallucinated from dehydration. I've seen shadows that weren't there, but this was different. The voice was real. It was behind me, and it knew my name. The breathing stopped a few seconds later, but I couldn't bring myself to check. Not yet. I waited for daylight. When I finally stepped outside, I expected to see footprints. Something. Anything. But the ground was untouched. No tracks, no drag marks, no broken branches. Just a still forest, quiet as death. I packed up and hiked to a higher elevation, hoping my gear would work better there. I told myself it was stress, isolation, maybe even a local playing tricks. But as I walked, I started to notice the trees around me. They weren't right. Some had no leaves, even though it was fall. Others were bent, not broken, curved unnaturally, like they'd grown away from something. I passed another one of those pits, a perfect circle, this one smaller. No bones inside, just water. Still, black. It reflected the sky above, but not me. I don't know how long I stood there staring into it. My mind blank. Time slipped. When I finally turned away, the forest felt different. The trees seemed closer, like the landscape had shifted behind my back. I checked my compass again. Useless. It spun lazily. I tried the GPS. Dead. Even my watch was frozen, blinking the wrong time. I set up camp before dark. I wasn't going to let myself get caught out again. I made a fire. Ate in silence. As night settled in, the tapping returned. This time, it was faster. Not erratic, intentional, like a signal. One tree, then another, then 2 at once. Closer. I stood up, gripping the hatchet tight. I shone my light into the woods. Nothing. Just trunks, branches, blackness. But the sound kept moving. Around me, behind me. Always just far enough to stay out of reach. I shouted into the trees. I'm armed. No response. Just silence. Then, footsteps. Light. Bare. Moving quickly over the dry leaves, stopping every few steps. It was circling the camp. I felt eyes on me. Not just watching, studying. I tried to sleep with my back against a tree, the fire burning low. That's when I heard it again. The voice. Closer. Not behind me this time. Beside me. I turned, but nothing was there. Just the darkness. You came too far, it said. Then silence. No wind, no movement. My fire hissed and died out. I sat in the black, clutching the hatchet. I didn't sleep. Not a second. Morning came gray and dim. I decided I had to leave. Now. I gathered what I could and started back. But the forest didn't match the map anymore. The trail I came in on, gone. Replaced by rock, thorns, dense undergrowth I knew wasn't there before. I tried to retrace my steps by landmarks. The ridgeline, the creek bed, but they twisted, doubled back. I was walking in circles. I knew it. By midday, I came to a place I didn't recognize at all. It wasn't on my route. A clearing filled with dead trees. Charred black trunks, stripped of bark, all leaning inwards toward a single point. In the center, another pit. This one deeper, wider. Covered in bones. Not clean, not arranged. Scattered, torn. As I stepped closer, I noticed something else. Claw marks on the inside of the pit walls, as if something had tried to climb out. I backed away slowly. That's when I saw the figure. At the edge of the clearing, pale, motionless. No face I could make out. Just long limbs, thin, too thin, like it had been stretched. It didn't move, not right away, but I could feel it watching me, like it had been watching me since the moment I arrived. Then it tilted its head slowly, as if it recognized me. I ran. I didn't think. I ran until my legs burned. I didn't care which way, just away from that clearing, away from those trees. I ran until the forest swallowed the light again, until the whispering began. The whispering was low at first, like a breeze, but it grew clearer the longer I ran. It wasn't one voice. It was many, layered over each other, some high, some deep, all saying the same thing over and over. A name. Not mine. But I recognized it. It was my mother's. They repeated it rhythmically, like a chant. I covered my ears, kept running, but the sound came from inside my head, like it was rooted behind my eyes. The forest around me blurred, trees melting into one another, the ground shifting beneath my feet. I stumbled, fell hard, rolled into a ditch filled with dead leaves. When I stood, the woods were different. Older, thicker, the air heavier, the light wrong. Yellowish gray like dusk stuck in a jar. I had no idea where I was. The compass spun wildly. The GPS wouldn't turn on. My phone battery had drained hours ago. There were no more trails, no signs of where I'd come from. And then I noticed the silence. Absolute. Not a single sound. No birds. No wind. Even my footsteps were muffled. It felt like I had stepped into a space outside of time. I tried to scream, to yell for help, but my voice died in my throat. I started walking. I don't know how long. Hours, maybe. Eventually, I reached a place that made my legs lock. A hill. At the top, a house. An old, rotted thing sunken into the earth like it had been trying to disappear. Windows shattered, roof caved, but smoke rising faintly from a broken chimney. I shouldn't have gone near it. I knew better, but something pulled me forward. Not curiosity, not fear. Something deeper, like gravity. I stepped inside slowly. The air smelled like rot and soil. The floor creaked under my boots. The walls were covered in symbols, the same ones I'd seen near the pits, carved into wood, scratched into stone. On the floor lay items that didn't belong here. A child's shoe, a driver's license, a wedding ring, all half buried in dust, all modern, all recent. I heard footsteps above me, slow, dragging. I called out, instinct maybe, no answer, but the whispering returned. Clearer now, louder, right behind me. I turned and saw nothing, but I could feel it, breathing. I climbed the stairs, each one groaning under my weight. At the top was a single door, closed. I stood in front of it for what felt like hours. Then, slowly, it creaked open on its own. Inside, the room was empty, except for a mirror, tall, old, framed in carved wood, warped and black. But the glass wasn't reflecting the room. It was showing the woods, my woods, the camp, the fire pit, my tent. I leaned closer, and I saw something moving behind the tent. That same figure, tall, watching, still. And then it turned, not toward the tent, but toward me, in the mirror, as if it could see me standing there. I stumbled back. The mirror cracked, but didn't break. From behind it, I heard the voice again, whispering, hissing, closer now. "You're already here!" I ran. Down the stairs, out the door, into the woods. I don't remember how I got back. Somehow, I woke up near my truck. It was dawn. Fog lay thick over the trail. I don't remember hiking out. Don't remember driving. Just flashes. I came to in my driveway 2 days later. The truck out of gas, my hands covered in dirt, my equipment gone. I quit my job the next week. Moved to a small apartment in the city. I don't go near forests, don't hike, don't camp. I keep the blinds closed. I don't talk to anyone about what happened. But sometimes, when the wind is just right, I hear the tapping again. On the walls, on the windows. Soft, rhythmic. Sometimes I see trees from the corner of my eye, even when I'm nowhere near them. Sometimes the mirror in my bathroom fogs up at night, even if I haven't used the sink. And once, just once, I swear I saw something written in the condensation. A word. One word. My name. I don't know what that place was, or if I ever really left. All I know is, the deeper you go into those mountains, the less of you comes back.